everybody, my name is Clay. But today I'm going to be talking about what makes a language a language. Well, in the world, there's about 200 countries. But it doesn't mean that there's about 200 languages. Because sometimes it's going to be really hard to predict out the language. Well, what makes a language a language? Do you understand what I was talking about? I'm talking about what makes a language a language. How is a language being confirmed by other people, and how is it used? Well, in Australia, when you go to Australia, you don't need to study Australian or something. You need to study what we call English. Wait, what? English is not for Australia. Australian language is Australians. Yeah, I know, but a lot of people in Australia prefer to use English than its own language. Well, what makes that language to affect a lot? Well, I must tell you that we become a linguistic for these days, because these days language is a kind of topic that's not really trending, but a thing that needs to be focused on is language and dialects. Language is a kind of talking that in a country a lot of people use, and it's a language of that own country. Dialects is a way that some people in some places talk. Like you could see, they could have different regions, different regionals, different beliefs about different things. And in Vietnam, like us, we have a lot of kinds of people, and we have like 63, right? 63 or something of states. That's a lot. And some people in our country isn't just King people. Some of them like Ede, Bana, they could be different people, and they speak in a different language too. Well, but that dialects. Why? Because it's not commonly used for all the people in that country. It's reasonable that our language could have a lot of dialects. Like the way that I'm talking now, I have a different accent than you guys who are like English. Like we have different accents. You must know that. Usually many nation states promoted a standardized language. That standardized language is used for lots of people, and if you want to communicate with all those people around that country, you must know that standardized language. Usually, the language that's being standardized is the language that people in the capital state usually would use. And if they use that language a lot, then that language is a standardized language. And what makes a dialect? A dialect is a way of talking that just happened in a small place. Well, now, if I'm talking about Vietnamese, we have all different Asians, even when we are Vietnamese and we speak Vietnamese too. Well, let me say that in different places, like usually you know that in some states they have different voices and different accents. In different places, like in the north, the south, the east, and the west, they use different kinds of dialects too. And in different regions of different people, they use a different dialect than me too. People in our city of Benchair speaks in a way that's really just common and friendly. While some people in the north can speak in a really low voice and it could be sometimes scary. And people in the east could become much more friendly and really have a really fun voice. It's just different to different peoples. Well, again, what makes a language a language? For me, I think a language is being standardized because that language is widely used and is also used in the capital. And if you go to a country but you use that standardized language and everybody understands what you're talking, then congratulations. That is a language. But if you're using a dialect, some people could know while some others couldn't. And remember, even when you're using the standardized languages, you can't talk to all people in the country because different people have different dialects too. Like people that live in different places. And they also have different faces, different way to talk, and their words have a different meaning than us too. Well, what should I say? Language is something that's really helpful for our communication, but not really helpful when you doesn't understand what is a language and what is a dialect. Well, remember, when you're going to a different country, make sure that you understand its languages and the dialect that the people in the place where you're going to move use, so that it will be easier for you to communicate to them. Well, now it's time to say goodbye. Goodbye! And what makes a language a language?